Welcome to Horror After Midnight. I am your host, KC, joined tonight by SaWGuY. How's it going tonight, man?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm excited. I can't wait what we're going to talk about. But first things first, I got a dress to impress. So, three, two, one. And we're back, and I'm ready to go. What do you think?
Awesome, man. Nice mask.
Thanks. I got to make it official that I'm part of Slink now. So, I have to, bring out the pink, make it pop a little bit. But what do we got going on today, man? I know I'm so excited. I'm taking the words out of your mouth.
Well, tonight we're talking about Halloween H20 20 years later.
Ooh, now this is a classic one. For some of you that are out there that probably remember this, it was so funny because back in the day, everyone called it H2O water. No, it's kind of funny how that one came out, but it's actually 20 years after the original one. So the original one was 1978. This was 1998. And this takes place actually right after the second one, correct?
Yeah, in the storyline, yeah, because they basically write it off as in like Jamie's like was never born or whatever. Uh, she like faked her death and is now the head mistress at this school and got a son now.
So she basically just said, fuck it, I'm going to go in witness protection.
Yeah, for the most part, I guess they had to do that because if they would have said that she's just been hiding this whole time and just left Jamie there in Haddonfield to die, that'd be pretty fucked up.
Well, honestly, I guarantee you, when everything was going on in part six, they were just like, yeah, we didn't like how Halloween 666 turned out, so we're going to do this. And I thought this was actually pretty cool how they did the H2O because it's a cool concept. I'm gonna break it down for y'all real quick with the numbers and information and stuff like that. So, this one actually came out in 1998 and had a budget of 17 million, but gangbusters, of course, it closed out with making 75 million, which that's no chump change. Yeah, that was pretty big for that time. And then the movie was directed by Steve Miner, who, interestingly enough, this guy's got a lot of horror cred. He's got some cred because he worked on the Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3 as director and producer. He also did one of my other favorite horror movies called House. It was the House that did it.
House is great.
Right? That's why I was like, oh, damn. So this guy had a lot of, niche in horror. And, I mean, the way they put it together, a lot of these actors were all, like, first up-and-coming new ones. I mean, of course, you got to have Jamie Lee Curtis. But they also included, what's his name? Josh Hartnett. Josh Hartnett was in this, and this was his starring role that kind of got him out there. And interesting enough, they also had Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I almost forgot that he was in this movie too, because he was the annoying kid in the beginning who was a hockey player.
Oh, okay, yeah, the hockey player dude. In that one, there was like a really big missed opportunity with that because that like skate or like ice skate to the face kill.
Right. That's why. Oh, dude.
If they would have showed that actually happening, that'd probably been one of the best kills in the whole series.
Oh, I know. They had such great hype on this, and they changed up the story a lot. I give them a lot of credit because this is the first one, and I was telling you this off camera, but I'll bring it up here for our fans. This is the first Halloween movie that doesn't take place in Haddonfield. It takes place in California.
Yeah, I guess Michael gets around.
Yeah, we're gonna talk more about that because there's a lot of it into it. But first things first, let's break it down, man. So, what'd you think of H2O? I mean, we all know the story about what happened, how Michael Myers. They didn't really show much about it. They just kind of showed that he just was up and around still, and he didn't die. He wasn't in an insane asylum or anything. He just was still around. It was weird.
Yeah, because at the end of 6 or whatever, he's there was that cult or whatever that's like keeping them safe or whatever, which he didn't really need help to stay safe. But they don't really tell you what happens or anything, and then he's just there. He breaks into Loomis's nurse's house and somehow I guess finds some kind of paperwork where his sister is, and then heads out to Cali.
He had to be like Notorious B.I.G. I'm going back to Cali. uh, it's kind of funny because like I love the premise how they started the story where it followed the nurse because now you tie in loose ends from the back end from Halloween 2. Of course, Donald Pleasance died. He died after part 6 was made. So they did kind of have some like background on him about like, oh, she had all the files and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
they never
and
said anything about Michael though.
yeah, I forgot about that part. They kind of like made it to where it's like a sequel to part two, right?
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense to why they didn't fill in the gap to what happened after six. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes more sense. Yeah,
It's all good because I know like they went to one storyline, then they did a different storyline, and this was where it kind of broke off into a third storyline, different timelines. But
yeah,
I
that's why it's so hard to keep up with what's going on when.
right, and this, I love the concept like back to the skating kill because like when you see Joseph Gordon-Levitt, her house is broken into. She goes to the neighbors instead of calling the cops. Like, hey, I think someone broke into my house. Like, what the fuck, bitch? Just call the cops. I didn't
Yeah, that's
understand
some
that
like
part.
hood shit there. Like, you just go get the neighbor to come check your house out. Like,
Not just the
and
neighbor, fucking neighbor kids.
yeah, I would have thought they would have called the cops too. Well, they did, but they didn't wait for the cops, and the cops took forever to get there.
Yeah. I
It's a
mean,
good
at
thing
that
nobody was
point,
getting killed.
I know that they showed how they had the skate in the face, that she's freaking out. I love because in the first 2 minutes, you just see classic Michael Myers just pushing the door in, and then he goes after the freaking nurse. And I love the part where she breaks the window and she goes, I'm in here, god damn it. And
Yeah,
gone. I was like, oh shit, like Michael ain't fucking around with this one. And then they show that he takes off in like some random ass broken down 1970s car. Like these cars were fucked up. Um
yeah, he does that. But if that would have been me or you that just broke into somebody's house, we ain't no way we're just gonna pull out the driveway when
exactly.
the cops
That's
are there. It's not gonna happen.
no,
There's a
that's
police
why
chase and all kinds of shit.
I know. That's why I was like, what the fuck? Okay, I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
Yeah,
Um
it's in the script, as Slinky would say.
yeah, it's in the script. I did like the part how it was modernized where, she's having flashbacks, she's having nightmares, and then you kind of find out the story about how, she has a son now, his name's Zeke, Josh Hartnett, and then you find out the reason like he came about is because her and the paramedic from part 2, they hooked up.
Oh,
Yeah. And after that, they were saying that I guess he got into drugs and that's why she got him full time. And so she changed her name and now she's also like a private principal at the private school. I don't know. Do they live in the school or was it like school was separate?
I think so. Yeah, because later in the movie when what was it when they most of the kids go to Yosemite, but a few stay back or whatever, and that one teacher's going around, the counselor guy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he's going around to check on them or whatever, and the two girls are in like it looks like a bedroom, and they're watching Scream too.
That's right. It's kind of like a private school with dorm. It was weird how they did all that shit. That's why I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I yeah,
almost set up
it's
kind of like a college in a way.
yeah, it was weird. And honestly, I honestly wanted to think that it was like more of a private school for like religion, like Catholic school or whatever. It almost looked like it. That's why I was just thinking like,
Yeah, something similar to that. I mean, it's got like a security gate and security guards. Religion was never really mentioned. Some
yeah,
type of private school of some kind.
yeah. I mean, fucking, they were taking a page out of Fresh Prince of Bel Air, I guess. I don't know. um, it follows Josh Hartnett, her son, and it kind of breaks down their stories about how they're going to go to Yosemite. She says you can't go to Yosemite because, it's the anniversary of Halloween, of course.
Yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't be a Halloween film if that was going on. You find out that Josh Hartnett, he has a girlfriend, Michelle Williams, who now she's kind of a big actor. She was in Shutter Island. She was She-Venom in the Venom movie. So she's kind of carved out a good career for her. You have LL Cool J as a security guard, and you have these
yeah,
two
that
other
was
known
cool.
actors that were like they got their start in this film, but then they started doing like TV after that. So it was kind of weird how it followed their story, then it followed Jamie Lee Curtis's story where she was like secretly having an affair with the counselor or whatever, and he kind of looked
Yeah,
like George Clooney, didn't he?
yeah, I can see that.
For the longest time, when I was a kid, I was like, "What the fuck is George Clooney doing on there? Batman's in here."
Yeah, it did look a lot like him. But I've seen that guy in something else too. I just can't think of where I've seen him.
Don't say
Maybe
ER.
like was it like the mask?
I mean, maybe.
I don't
I don't
know.
know. I will have to
I
look
just
him
know his
up.
face looks familiar. I just can't put it where I've seen him before.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, you know. And I mean, I get the whole storyline, and then I guess Jamie Lee Curtis is like super obsessed over her son, like, don't go out. And he's cool with L. Cool J goes out. She goes on a date with the counselor and sees that her son's out, and then she's like, "The fuck is wrong with you?" You know,
Yeah, of
has a
all days
meltdown.
to do what was it? Of all days to pull this shit, you pull this shit today on Halloween.
Yeah, and he's like, "Mom, your brother is dead." They were still kind of going with the fact that they were brother and sister too with this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they
And
didn't change that up till 2018.
no, and you know, honestly, I loved this film because this, even though it was H2O 20 years after the original, they threw in a lot of winks. And this is the only film that you'll see that Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, Janet Lee, was in here. And I guess she was her assistant. And it's funny because she got her start playing the original Psycho. So she's dressed up like an original Psycho outfit. And she's driving the fucking car. And it was so funny. I think it had like a little wink to like 57 or Psycho 57 or something like that on the license plate. And
Huh.
yeah, and also too, she did the whole thing where she's like, "Oh, everyone's entitled to one good scare." Um, I thought that was kind of cool little winks. And then when she had her meltdown and was driving in, was like, "Oh, did you let my son go out?" And he's like, "No." And then as she takes off, he's like, "Psycho." So
Oh
I thought that
yeah.
was kind of, I thought it was kind of a cool, funny wink how they did that.
Yeah. It's always pretty cool when they do that 'cause those kind of winks and stuff in horror movies back to older films.
Yeah.
Or ones that aren't even as old, like I was saying earlier, they had Scream 2 in this one. And they they put Scream in different all kinds of different movies.
Anything that was dimensions, they had to put that wink out there.
Yeah, it's either one of the Scream films or Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. You know, and that was okay. I love I can appreciate all the winks and stuff like that. What I can't appreciate is the fact that he's driving this old ass car, Michael Myers. He stops at this fucking place to go to the bathroom. This lady, she's a young chick. She must be in her mid 30s, early 30s, maybe late 20s. And she has a daughter. She's like, "Well, gotta go to the bathroom." The women's bathroom's closed, so the men's open. And she sees, you know, the car out there. And the daughter's like, "Well, what if there's a boy in there?" Well, they're gonna have to get used to it. What I thought
Yeah,
was funny, did you see that piece of shit jalopy she was driving? It looked like the fucking, it looked like one of those old Acme trucks in the fucking cartoons with the big old, looked like fucking Jeepers Creepers truck, didn't it?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It looked a lot like the Jeepers Creepers truck, or like yeah, it's one of those old had like the really big, well, not really big, but weird looking tires and everything on it. And
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Like, honestly, if you're driving that shit, you cannot be conspicuous. You can't. That piece of shit was just, it must have
yeah,
ran
it
on
would
fucking
stick
steam,
out
dude.
anywhere.
Right? And well, that was going on where he's actually driving Michael Myers. He follows Jamie Lee Curtis like to the gate and the whole meltdown about how he LL Cool J calls her a psycho and shit. And you see the fucking car just sitting there. Like, if I saw an old ass car like that, like, what the hell is this car doing there?
Yeah, it's kind of just like on the road watching or whatever. Then later on, it shows up at the gate, and he somehow sneaks by him. Don't know how that's even possible, but it's a movie.
It's in the script.
Yeah, because he opens up the gate to go check the car out or whatever, and nobody's in it, and then the lights are still on or whatever. He comes back in and closes the gate, and somehow during that time, I think Michael just slips by him.
You know, and there's a couple things that I just had issues with, and that was one of them because I was just like, what the fuck is this? You know? But okay, I can get the story. I like the fact they took Michael Myers out of his element because now you don't know what's gonna happen. What is he gonna do? What I thought was cool is that like when the story played out where she was like, okay, you can go to Yosemite, he ends up not going. Him and his friends and his girlfriend or whatever. So they stay behind. Jamie Lee Curtis stays behind. She tells her whole story to the guy that she was banging and was
Yeah,
like,
counselor did.
yeah. because she was like, I'm actually Michael Myers' sister. And he's like, what? And he thought he was joking because they were drinking and shit. Well, that's
Yeah.
going on. The kids are trying to set up like a little surprise party or whatever. And then that's when Michael Myers comes in. And honestly, I wish they would have showed the fucking kill with that kid. He was the one who dropped the thing in the garbage disposal. And he goes and puts his hand in. And you think, okay, it's going to get grinded. It didn't. Then he turns around and he sees fucking Michael Myers. And he's like, oh, hey, but I fucking hated this part, dude, because I, H2O had the worst fucking masks. They had the worst masks. Because when he turned
Yeah.
around, the guy wasn't wearing a mask. It was CGI. What the hell is that, dude? A CGI H2O mask when he turns around. Do you remember that scene?
I remember the scene, but I did not realize the mask was CGI.
Oh, dude, it was so CGI. It was bad because I paused it and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" There's like no mask could look like that. Um, yeah, I
Yeah, I
was
have to go back and
pissed.
check that because I guess it's kind of like a quick. He looks at him and then it's like right back off of him if I remember right.
Well, they also did the wink to scream where it shows Michael Myers' eyes and it shows like the dude like, "Hey," and kind of like Henry Winkler when he was looking at Ghostface in his eyes.
Oh, okay.
So I liked how they had some little winks into it because I mean, of course, the thing that sucked with Dimension films is that they made the recipe for Scream and then they were basically following that same recipe for all their horror films that were slashers. So there's some people that joke and call this like H2O Scream or Scream H2O, something
Yeah.
stupid. What do you think of the kills?
The like I was saying, the one in the beginning of the movie would have been probably the best one if they would have showed it actually happening with the ice skate to the face. That would have been the very best one out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the only one that stood out, and that you don't even see it happen. Um,
I know.
I mean, it's just Michael's never been very not like Jason. You know, Jason, he's like has all kinds of really cool kills. Michael's all pretty much the same. I think in this one, did he grab anybody by the face and squeeze their head? Because he does that a lot.
No, he didn't do that. He put the cork in the dude's neck. He slit the
Oh,
throat
Scream,
of
I know
the.
that. What, Friday 13th Part 5?
Oh no, that was four. That was four. That was with Crispin
Yeah,
Glover.
4. Yeah, yeah, 4,
Yeah.
not 5. 4 where he's
See,
like, yells out about the corkscrew or whatever.
yeah. That shit. I had to think about that when I was like, oh, that's another cool little wink. And then the girl, I didn't like how they had that weird elevator and it dropped and then it like broke her leg off. I was like, ooh.
That one, yeah, that one made you like cringe. So that was another really cool part. Yeah, because he got
Yeah.
like the bone sticking out. I had to pause it and everything. Like
Yeah. It was all
that was,
right. I didn't like the part where Michelle Williams comes in and then she's like, they put the light through the chick and you see like she's got a hole and then the light goes on. And it's like, what the hell? Like, if they would have just left it where she found her with her legs cut off or severed off or ripped out or whatever, I think that would have been a better kill or better shock to it.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, not to play spoiler alert either, but Laurie Strode, she let her boyfriend counselor die in this one. And I thought it was fucked up because he fucking gets stabbed in the back and then lift up like in part two. Um,
oh
her
yeah, right
son,
after he shoots LL Cool J.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck, man? They let LL Cool J die, but they didn't. They broke that trope of horror films. And I thought that was kind of cool how they did that because this film was really different. It was really good for what it was. Because you got Michael Myers in California, which you would never fucking see ever again. Two, you didn't have really big kills. It was more storyline driven, which I thought was cool. And then three,
Yeah,
like the way how it ended, where they fight and then she slams him down on the fucking table and he was knocked out. Um, I thought that was okay, but then like when she snapped at the end and like they thought he was dead and she drove the van and then he breaks
yeah,
out of the body bag, um, and then she crashes the van or like swoops him out of the window and then she's driving around with that smirk and then she fucking crashes the van and then he rolls out. I love this scene where like he like gets on the tree and then he turns around like try to run and then he gets smashed and pinned on the tree branch.
yeah.
And I
That
thought
should have
that
killed him right there.
right. That's why I was like, okay, well, are they doing the fucking thorn curse again, or what the fuck? Because he went down, then he came back up, and she got the fire axe, and then that's when she's calling for Michael, and he's like touching his face, like. And I thought was weird is that he was putting his hand out, and I thought, okay, that had nothing to do with 1 and 2 because he didn't want to try and get to her. He wanted to fucking kill her. And
Yeah,
the way they ended, I thought was really great. Where all of a sudden they just went like with the sound effects from the original, and she cuts his head off.
yeah. You would think there's no coming back from that. Once your
Right?
head's cut off, you don't grow a new head. Like,
No. And I freaking like I love the ending for it because it's like, okay, now you can end the story if you really want to. But also too, throughout the whole movie, Michael Myers is wearing different masks. He wears one where he walks up to the door and you can't see his eyes, and the mask is got the hair slicked back like part four. I'm like, okay, you got the CG mask, CGI one, and then you have
which
this
makes
one at
no sense.
right. That's why. Well, apparently the reason why they had all of this and they finally came out and said is that people kept trying to steal the masks. So
Yeah,
everybody would try to lock up the mask and then they forgot where they put it. So they're like, well, what the fuck? We got to film. We can't. They didn't have extra
yeah,
mask staff. So that kind of fucked up everything.
that
And with
makes
that,
sense. 'Cause I think there was another movie where was it Freddy Krueger's gloves that kept getting stolen.
yeah, and they were ending up in freaking Evil Dead, which I thought was kind of
Yeah,
funny.
somehow they ended up with it.
Yeah. So I can understand that, but I mean, it wasn't a shit show like filming it per se, but it is kind of different that they just had to go with different masks and they thought like us fans wouldn't know. It's like, what the fuck? It's like slicked hair, then he's got crazy hair, then he's got a computer generated one. Um, my favorite one was the one at the end, which was really cool, but I just hate the fact that it showed his skin, it showed his eyes, because it's like, okay, Loomis has always said he's got the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, and you never saw him. But this
Yeah,
one showed his eyes, and it's like, what the fuck? Why are you doing that? Part four didn't show his eyes. Part five briefly did when he was crying and took the mask off, but
yeah,
you didn't see it like when he had the mask on. Six, of course, you didn't see it. So this one was pretty much since the originals when you actually saw his eyes. Um, that I mean, it's in the script. If I had to go and rate this film, honestly, I mean, for me, out of 10 stars, I'd probably give it a 6. I mean, the story's great. If they would have polished it up a little bit, maybe it would have been a little bit better. I mean, what's your take on it?
for me, it was a great story. The masks was like you were saying, really strange how they kept switching them up, but they didn't really have a choice. The story was really good. The acting was really good. Overall, I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Damn! Wow, this must be one of your favorites.
I mean, it's really cool, but I am a big Scream fan too, and it's a lot like Scream 2, I guess, in a way.
I mean, it kind of is and it kind of isn't. I mean, I have to
Yeah,
give I have to keep it my rating because it's the acting was okay. I will give them that for all these kids being first time actors with Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, LL Cool J. I think was coming off what was it, Deep Blue Sea or no, not Anaconda, Deep Blue Sea. I think he was filming at the same time with this. But the Dimension Films, they were kind of like the Blumhouse of the '90s because Blumhouse is making all these films. Dimension
yeah,
Films, they had Halloween, they had Scream, and then they did a lot of random ones. They did what was it? Urban Legends. Fuck, what was the other one that they did? They did The Faculty. So this is the same time that they were filming this in Faculty. So Josh Hartnett, got his start from that.
yeah,
Um, Michelle Williams, I think, did like lot of artsy fartsy films at that time. Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, only came back to this film because of the fact that, you know, she had just done pretty much almost everything. And so I guess it's kind of like her last hoorah. And,
yeah.
I honestly thought that this would be the last one that she come back, but we were surprised because she came back again. But that's the next one that we're going to be talking about, which is, of course, Resurrection, right?
Oh yeah.
um, the only thing I got to say about H2O to Resurrection, They waited too long in between, dude. Way too long, because this was 1998 when this film came out, and when this film came out, it was shit 20 years after the original, and people were hyped up because Jamie Lee Curtis came back. She didn't come back for
Yeah.
4, 5, or 6. They started a horror convention in Pasadena here in California that they do like a every like 20, 40, 30-year reunion for Halloween. Like they do it every 10 years. And
Okay.
they started with H20, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, but the fact that when they did this, everybody was all hyped up on it. We'll find out later on with Resurrection that was kind of, it was a little different because of the fact that they waited too damn long to release it. Because at this time, you also had Jason X that was coming out. You had a bunch of other random horror films like I Know What You Did Last Summer and all these other ones that were just kind of one and done with the 90s. Because Dimension Films, like I said, they had that recipe for Scream, and they just
Yeah.
slapped a new title on it, put a new killer, and then called it a day.
Yeah. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, yeah, Urban Legends. I know what you did last summer. There wasn't a bunch of them. Scream. Um, a few slashers in the '90s, but not like the '80s.
Yeah. Well, they also kind of eventually got into doing, what was that other one? Final Destination, which that also kind of like trips me out. Like, what the fuck they did? Yeah, because they Dimension Films, man, they were like the Blumhouse of the 90s. They had some good shit at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
liked the Final Destination films. I actually think that I saw something about them making another one here soon.
Yeah, they were saying that they were going to bring that franchise back too. So I'm like, whoo, this is going to be game on. But I
Yeah.
mean, final thoughts on H2O.
Great movie. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing here. Go check it out. Um,
I,
but
I was
yeah, overall, I mean, it's a really good movie. It's got its, small issues here and there, but overall, decent movie.
I could agree. My final thoughts on it is if you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing? Like, you have to see this one. I mean, at least once. It's all right. It's not the best. It's not the worst. We've seen worse when it comes to Halloween films. Honestly, I
Oh
would
yeah, part
say.
five.
I mean, part 5 was pretty brutal, but I mean, honestly, H2O was just a little bit better. I mean, I think honestly, a lot of it had to do with budgets. They were paying the actors more than they were towards the budgets, the masks, issues, and shit like that. If they go back and polish this up and fix it and re-release it, okay, I could see that. They have a TV version with extra scenes. So apparently, they released it on TV. They never re-released it on VHS, DVDs, or whatever. But that's out there on YouTube. So if you want to see the deleted scenes, they're there. Also, too, before we end it, this was one of the first Halloween films that came out on DVD because this was around the time VHS and Laserdiscs was still going on. And 6 months after VHS came out, this came out on DVD. That's when they actually cared about DVDs and put all kinds of cool shit in there. Um, I still have that DVD somewhere, but oh my god, that was, you had to live that time, man. 1998, 1999. But my final thoughts is go fucking see this one. Enjoy the hell out of it. And please don't tell me that's your favorite fucking mask.